So, hello there everyone and welcome, it is Aniran here, and today it is time for me to bring you, this might be quite an upsetting video in a sense, because it's things we could have had, but yet are absolutely nowhere near having. It's things that we all wished were in FIFA 20 career mode. So, I'll explain features, elements, or things from Football Manager, or just ideas that people have had that would be great in FIFA career mode, that we wish were in FIFA 20, but just simply aren't. If there's anyone, maybe from EA, who happens to be watching this, then that would be astonishing. There probably isn't, they're probably not gonna care anyway, but things that I personally would love to see, and things that I know I've seen a lot of other people make videos on in the past, or express desire to have in the game. Now, if you go on to enjoy the video, slap a like on it, and of course subscribe if you're new to the channel. Also, let me know down in the comment section what you think about the points I made in this video, and if there's any other features you wished were in the game, or you maybe want to see going into FIFA 21, which seems like quite a long time away, and it is a long time away, but regardless, drop them down in the comment section below. So let's get into things straight off the bat. Number one, under 21 and or youth teams. It's just, it has to happen. I'm sorry, it is the natural progression. The stuff we had this year was great, none of it worked properly, but it was at least a good start. The interviews, I mean, they need to be refined. The dynamic potential needs to be refined a little bit. The morale system needs to be refined a little bit. They were all great. The next big thing, it has to be this. I don't see any other scenario where it isn't this. Under 21 teams will be banging. Obviously, dynamic potential is a thing on the game this year for your own club. It's still quite difficult sometimes to give the youth players the time they need so their potential doesn't go down. One way of maybe combating that would be to play them every week, give them actual game time in an under 21 team or an under 23s. It might not make the same impact on their dynamic potential as playing in the senior team, like maybe goals in the senior side or performances would be worth double what they would be in the under 21s, but at least it's still some sort of game time rather than them festering on the sidelines. It would be sick to be able to have an under 21s league, an under 23s league, maybe even under 18s as well. You can scroll through all of them. Maybe there was a youth tab or something on the actual main menu of career mode, and you could get a grasp of how every single one of your youth teams is doing, maybe with some reports on how many goals they've scored in their respective youth league, how many games they've played, their average rating, maybe what some sort of assistant manager or youth coach reckons on whether they can actually break through into the senior side, whether they'll ever be able to make it. Stuff like that would be absolutely astonishing. Second of all, we've got a kit editor, and I realize this is much more of a licensing issue rather than EA just flatline not being bothered to put the feature into the game mode, but could you imagine if you could actually change your kit at the end of every season, actually change the design of the home kit, or maybe even change the colors of the away and alternate kit, maybe even change the goalkeeping kits, decide on amongst different suppliers like Nike or Puma or Adidas or New Balance or Diadora or whoever you want to make your kits. Probably not Diadora. Do they even still make kits? Le Coq Sportif. You could get them in if you want a little bit of French va-va-voom in your kits, whatever you want. And also, again, as I mentioned, being able to change designs, have designs on your away kits, you know, decide on what colors you want for your away kits. You probably wouldn't be able to change the colors of the home kits. I think that would be one thing that you'd need to keep the same, but apart from that, you could go ham on anything. That would be so good. And point three kind of leads on from that as well, also to do with kits potentially, or maybe just the club in general and partnership deals, as you tend to see more regularly in real life, like with PES or Pro Evolution Soccer, who have a connection with like Barcelona and Arsenal. What I'm alluding to here is sponsors, either kit sponsors or, again, as I mentioned, you know, sponsors behind the scenes or on advertising boards around the stadium. You could get decent amounts of revenue coming in to add to your transfer budget, maybe even bonuses depending on how you did across the course of the season. If you won the league, for example, one of your sponsors may pay out double or give you a bonus of £10 million that will be added to the transfer kitty for the next season, maybe would pay for a whole new signing. Obviously, again, licensing when it comes to kit suppliers, maybe even when it comes to advertising boardings on the side of the stadium. I know sponsors and deals are so like niche now, like they're so ingrained within each deal. Remember back in the days like 2001 or whatever, you could play LMA Manager and be sponsored by flipping Burger King if you wanted to. You can't really do that now because a team maybe has a specific deal with McDonald's instead, and and even having that coordination or cooperation, on the game would be completely implausible. But if they could somehow wrangle their way around that, that would be an amazing feature, being able to decide upon sponsors. Number 4, we've got backroom staff. This is what I've been screaming for ages. If they don't bring in youth teams, I can definitely see this being the next thing they add into the game. I'm talking about physios, I'm talking about assistant managers, I'm talking about coaches, youth staff, marketing people, whatever team a manager would bring to the table. Because I know, obviously, there's probably higher ups who decide certain job roles like CEO and director of football and stuff, but each manager tends to have their own set of backroom staff when it comes to physios and coaches, etc. So I don't see why you wouldn't be able to hire them and take them wherever you go. And maybe they could even improve certain areas of your team. Maybe an assistant coach might boost the morale of a team. Coaches on the training ground might boost growth or boost potential slightly. Physios might improve recovery time of injuries by 10%, 15%, 20% if they're really good and really expensive in terms of wages. Number 5 is stadium upgrades. A lot of these ideas are featuring in Football Manager at the moment or have been taken from there, but just imagine how good they would be in FIFA Career Mode, and stadium upgrades is no exception. You could maybe determine ticket prices going into games or look at the fixtures and say, okay, what tickets would be more expensive based on who we're playing, determine what season ticket prices would be, and then actually upgrade the stadium as well. Build new stands, work on certain elements of the actual stadium and boosting it. It might cost a lot of money from your transfer budget, for example. You might have to sack off signing players for 1 or 2 seasons like you've seen with Tottenham or in Arsenal in the last 15 years, but it would actually improve ticket sales. I don't know, it's something to maybe work on. Maybe you wouldn't want to build a whole new stadium, that might take a while, but building new stands or developing them or creating more seats at your current stadium might be something to invest in long term if you're wanting to do a road to glory, for example. That would add such a big element to a career mode like that, where you can't actually build your stadium as things stand. You can take a League 2 side to the Champions League, play a semi-final in the Champions League, but you're still playing at Town Park with a capacity of 5,000 people. Number 6 is statistics over multiple seasons. As things stand, you really only see actual stats season by season, and then everything is a clean slate again. Everything is refreshed. When I sign a player, I'd love to see how many goals they've scored in their entire career, how many games they played in their entire career, their past history, who they've signed for back in the day. It's more of a aesthetic knowledge situation rather than something that would add a dynamic to actually playing the game, but I think a lot of people would just love to see it. Number 7 is dynamic potential for every club, not just the club you are actually managing, so AI teams as well. Really good feature, I've got to say. I hated fixed potentials back in the day. Players at AI clubs still kind of have that fixed potential, and that's not too bad. It's not the end of the world, because if they're playing for an AI team, the chances are they're not really going to make much of a difference to you anyway, unless you actually play them, and you won't be playing them more than 2 or 3 times in a season. That's fairs, but it would again add, a dynamic element to it. It would add a bit more variety, knowing that a certain random, I don't know, Swedish youth academy player from God knows where in Scandinavia could become the best player in the world, not just Mbappe every time. Do you get what I'm saying? Number 8 is the request funds feature, and I'll be brutally honest, I don't even know why it was removed in the first place. This is one of very few features that are actually in this video that were in career mode at one point. The only other thing I think being backroom staff, which was in the old PlayStation games, old PS2 games even. Request funds was in the game, I think, until as recently as FIFA 16, and then was for some reason just dragged out. I don't know why. It was actually very helpful, especially last year where the funds were ridiculously low. No, sorry, FIFA 18. FIFA 19 and FIFA 20 have been alright, I think, from what I can remember. Certainly FIFA 20 is not too bad. You get a decent amount of money most of the time. I think it was FIFA 18 where the board was always super harsh, so you'd get promoted from the Championship to the Premier League and your budget would still only be like £10 million. In instances like that, it would be great to actually request funds, so based on, getting a better objective, you could ask for more money and at least make one extra signing. I can't think of many situations where this wouldn't be relevant or wouldn't be helpful as well. Like, I know budgets are pretty good these days. You do get quite a lot of money, especially if you're overperforming the season before. But there's probably always going to be a time where you wish you could have brought in an extra player in one transfer window. Or you get to January, you realize you've spent all your money and there's still kind of something missing in the squad to get you where you need to go to at the end of the campaign. And finally, number 9, we've got positional training. Now, obviously, training is a great addition and, in my opinion, is probably one of the best additions that they've put into their game in the last sort of 3 or 4 years. But one thing I would love to be able to train is actual positions. Now, at the moment, that wouldn't necessarily change too much apart from just an aesthetic thing of I'm playing a right back at centre back because he's better there, but it still registers that he's a right back. It's a little bit annoying. It's not necessarily aesthetically pleasing, but obviously it would make a lot more of a difference if that then dictated how they played. For example, if a player was out of position massively, if he was playing as a striker, but in actuality he was a central midfielder, he would play worse. If that was actually a thing in the game, positional training would be very important. Anyway, that is gonna wrap up today's video of things we all wished were in FIFA 20 career mode, but sadly they are not. You never know, we may get a miracle, we may see some of these things for the next installment of the game, but it's quite a long time till the next actual game comes out, so we've got to settle for this for now. If you did enjoy the video though, slap a like on it, and of course subscribe if you're new to the channel. Let me know what other features you'd love to see in career mode going forward down in the comment section below. And finally, you can also follow me on social media. It is at the official FNG on Twitter and on Insta. But it's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a great day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.